Hey Gauchos, we're back for another College and Career Center advisory video for you all. Today's topic is creating a college list. And if you weren't familiar with the College and Career Center, we are located in A209. We're going to kick us off with an introduction, and I'll hand it off to Ms. Dark.
Hi, everybody. So just as a reminder of kind of your College and Career Center team, I'm Miss Dark. I use she, her pronouns. I am the College and Career Counselor. And for undergrad, a little bit about me. I went to Sonoma State, class of 2012, and St. Mary's for graduate school and graduated in 2018. And that is my Calendly link at the bottom there for students to make appointments.
Hey y'all, this is Miss Rochelle. I use she, they pronouns. I'm the EAOP DCAC College Advisor here at UC. This is my second year. I graduated from UC Berkeley in 2020, and if you want to get in contact with me or book an appointment, I also have a Calendly portal, and it's right there, calendly.com/Miss Rochelle. All right, so for a quick temperature check with you all, you can go ahead and answer this, to yourself in your brain. Have you began building your college list? Yes, no, and if so, what are some important details to take note of when building your college list? We invite you to reflect on this as we transition into our presentation today.
All right, so some of the learning objectives for this presentation today, you guys are going to learn about match and fit concepts and how to incorporate them into your college research process. You're going to understand how safety, target, and reach are categorized under fit, and you're going to be able to determine your college list based on an individual student profiles.
This is our agenda for today. So defining match and fit, we're going to talk about the factors to consider. We're going to talk about creating that college list, and then finally have some CSU and UC practice. All right, so defining match and fit. Okay, so when we're thinking about college, we are thinking about two sort of buckets when deciding what schools to apply to. The first one being match. So this one looks at your academic profile specifically, as well as the college's competitiveness in terms of those academics. So academics meaning your GPA, your test scores, your transcripts, anything of that nature. Whereas we also have fit on that list as well. And this looks specifically at your personal, social, and financial needs. So how much does that college cost? Do you have any socio-emotional needs, major career interests, cultural needs, proximity to home, retention, and graduation rates? So essentially, to sum it up, this looks at your high school academic history and then your personal needs when it comes to a college. Why is this important to know, right? You definitely want to be happy and content with where you pick when choosing a college, right? So you definitely want to consider the interests and needs you may have. It helps you be informed on the different college options and make an informed decision. It helps you consider all the factors and opportunities. And then finally, it helps you create a list that will help you achieve the goals that you have for yourself. At the end of the day, you're going to be getting that degree from whatever institution you choose, and you want to make sure that you are satisfied or content with the outcome.
All right, so we're going to do a quick check-in just to see would you guys think that would all students have the same match and fit list? So I just want you to kind of think about that for a second. And you can write it down, or you can just have it in your brain. Just kind of think, would all students have the same match and fit list? All right, so the answer is no, all students will have a different college list. College lists are individualized. So you guys each have different needs that might be different from your peers. And so that meaning that your college list will be different from anybody else's. Now we're going to go over some factors to consider when looking at colleges. So some of the main ones is kind of a big list, but there's a lot of different important things to consider when you guys are looking at what schools you might want to go to. Some of them here are public versus private, What's the size of the school? Where is it located? So is it near here? Is it far from home? Maybe it's out of state. The ethnic composition, areas of study, course offerings, facilities, graduation and retention rates, the campus environment, housing, admissions criteria, athletics, faculty-student ratio. So is it really big classes or really small classes that you prefer? Internships, what's the cost, what kind of financial aid is available, and then also available resources.
All right, so now that we have all of that great information to work with, we can start thinking about what does it look like to create a college list for ourselves. All right, so we talked about match and fit, right? Once you have your fit in mind based off of those criteria that we mentioned in the previous slide, you can start determining how to classify your schools. So once you have schools that meet your preference, that meet the fit that you envision, let's classify it into safety, target, and reach. All right, so what is safety, target, and reach? As you may know, not all schools fall under the same category. They're going to look different depending on your stats, right? So this is how we classify it. We have safety, which means that your academic credentials, essentially your transcript, your test scores, etc., exceed the school's range for admitted students. If you've looked at the stats for freshman admission on a specific school, you may see the averages on there, right? So maybe they have a 3.0 average, or they have a 3.2 average, or a 2.5 average. If your GPA, for example, or your test scores are higher than what's listed on there, then that could potentially be a safety school for you. We also have target, which means that you fall within that range on their website. So let's say you have a 3.0 and the average GPA for that school is a 3.0. That might be a target school for you. And then finally, we have our reach. So reach means it's highly competitive. They probably have a higher GPA and maybe you're a little bit below it, right? So let's say it's a 3.5 and you're at a 3.3. So that school might be classified as a reach. Again, all of these categories are based off of your academic credentials. So your GPA, your A through Gs, etc. A good rule of thumb that you all should be keeping in mind is that you should be applying to at least 4 schools. So 1 safety, 2 target, and 1 reach. It's super important that you have a diverse list of colleges. You don't want to be applying to all reach schools, for example. You want a few in there that could be classified as safety and target for yourself. I know it can seem like a lot of info, right? Just know that you're not in it alone. Myself and Ms. Dark are here if you need any help creating your list. If you even have your list prepared at this point in the school year, we'd also be super happy to take a look over and just kind of help you classify what each school would look like for you, whether it be safety, target, or reach.
All right, so let's get into some CSU and UC practice for you guys so you can see how it plays out when you're looking at each of the colleges you're interested in. So for CSUs, California State Universities, the admission for that is based on GPA and A to G courses. The minimum GPA is now a 2.5 for acceptance, but also students that have a 2.0 to 2.49 can be admitted based on supplemental factors, which are each dependent on each individual school. So you'll want to research the school that you're interested in to see what those supplemental factors are. And so for safeties, it begins with your CSU service area. So the service area is the area around the school. So this would be CSU East Bay for El Cerrito students. That would be considered safety for EC students. Target schools are CSUs outside of your service area. So that could be somewhere like Bakersfield or Chico. And then you also have your reach CSUs. So CSUs with campus and program impaction. So we'll go over impaction a little bit more later, but for impaction for all majors. So reach schools like that are always impacted might be San Diego or Cal Poly. We'll go over it again a little bit later. And also to mention an important part, CSUs are now test blind and will not be used in determining admissions. So when they're having your admissions, your application, and they're deciding whether to admit you or not, they will not be seeing any test scores that you might submit. They will only be using those for like course placement after the fact. All right, so here we have our CSU local admission and service areas. We have a link that is where it says areas right there, and that takes you to this page, and you'll be able to come back to this, refer to it later. This link takes you to a list of all the service areas for each of the campuses. So you guys can take a little bit of more of a look at any of the schools that you're interested in when you get the links to these slides here. And just to highlight East Bay again, so it's considered a safety for residents of Alameda, Contra Costa, San Francisco, San Mateo, Santa Clara, and Solano counties. So it's considered a safety school for that local admission area for those. All right, so CSU impacted majors and campuses. To go into a little more depth about what impaction is, it is when the number of applications received by a campus from qualified applicants is greater than the number of available spaces. And so a campus is considered impacted for undergraduate degree programs or for students who apply from outside of the local admission area. And impacted campuses can use additional criteria to screen applicants. Also, the additional criteria would be dependent on the school. And so academic impaction for 2022-2023, all undergraduate programs are impacted for these campuses that are listed here. So that's Cal Poly, Fresno State, CSU Fullerton, Cal State LA, CSU Long Beach, San Diego State, and San Jose State. And so you see San Jose State on there, and even though it's nearby, it's in the Bay Area, it's not a safety or target school. It is a reach school because they are impacted and they get a lot of applications and ends up being more than they can actually accept for students. Also, programs like STEM and nursing tend to be very impacted at many schools. All right, so this is also another link here, the CSU undergraduate impacted programs matrix. So it will take you to this page. And so if you have a school you're interested in, you'll be able to go and see which programs in particular are impacted. The red asterisks next to some of the schools indicate that all majors at that school are impacted. So you have some of those listed right there. We have Fullerton, Long Beach, Los Angeles, and you can take a look specifically into the program that you're interested at each of the CSUs to see the impaction. All right, so let's move on to some University of California UC admission process. So the way that UCs look at admissions process is holistic. So that means that they look beyond just what your GPA is when they're making admission decisions. So identifying if a UC is a safety, target, or reach is not as easy as it is for CSUs. So looking at safety, target, and reaches for UCs, safety UCs, no UC falls within the safety category. For target UCs, if you're slightly within or slightly above the school's GPA range, that school will likely be a target school for you. And then reach UCs, if you are below the UC campus's range, it is a reach school. So that might be things like UC Berkeley, UCLA, UC San Diego. Those ones are always reaches. And similarly, applying to highly competitive majors, as we mentioned, STEM or like nursing can make the school a reach if you're interested in that program.
All right, y'all. So we do have some recommendations for you while you build your college list. So first, commuting is definitely a huge commitment. We don't want you to disregard campuses nearby. If you're eligible, you should definitely apply to the CSU's Educational Opportunity Program. It can definitely help you once you're in college, of course, but also can give you a leg up when it comes to admission. So when readers are looking at your application and they see that you also are eligible and apply to the EOP program, it can definitely benefit you. I've seen some students in the past get accepted to EOP from a school first and then receive their admission letter later down the road. So that can also give you a sneak peek of your admission. And finally, I know we didn't talk about private schools in this session in particular, partially because of the time limitation, but please do consider applying to private schools. They're usually more lenient in admissions criteria and much more generous in their financial aid package. As a high school student, I remember seeing the tuition costs of private schools on the website, definitely being discouraged, especially as a first-gen college student. That was definitely an information gap that I didn't realize at the time. I didn't know that private schools are more funded and also are more generous to students when creating their financial aid package.
All right, so you guys are going to want to pay attention to graduation rates. So there's a few things to look at when considering that. When trying to narrow down a list, consider the graduation rates. UCs and competitive private schools overall have good graduation rates, and then CSU graduation rates will vary between all the different campuses.
All right, so I know last week we talked about majors, but we're gonna have a little bit of major discussion right now as well. Just know that major selection is an extremely important component to creating the list. Again, not all schools have the same major, right? It might look different across schools. So you wanna make sure that the program you're interested in is offered at the school that you're potentially applying to. The second thing is to always list an alternate major. So if your first choice major is highly competitive and you don't get accepted into it, an alternate major will have you considered for that program instead, and potentially have your admission be an acceptance. And the third thing is just know that you're welcome to have alternate majors for different schools or different major choices for different schools. An example is listed on the slide. You can apply as a psych major to CSU East Bay, but bio for Sac State, they're not in conversation with each other and comparing what majors you apply to. So you have freedom in that selection. Finally, we talked a little bit about being undeclared last week, but just to know that it is an option for you. However, not all schools have that option, so do the extra mile and do that extra research. And also know that sometimes undeclared can also be impacted. I know that complicates some things, but while you're building your college list, just go ahead and check that.
All right, so we wanted to let you guys know about some upcoming events you should be aware of. We mentioned this last week, but we've had a few additions in college visits. And so you should sign up to attend. That QR code, if you scan that, will take you to the college visits calendar on the El Cerrito High website. And under each date, if you click on the school visit on the dates, it will have a link to a Google form, and that's what you fill out to be able to attend. Or you can also go to that tiny URL that's listed right there that takes you to the same spot. And so we have some coming up. The one this week, Santa Cruz got postponed from last week to this week, so that one will be on Friday at lunch. And we have a few more. We have UC Santa Barbara, Humboldt State, and some of them are virtual and some of them are in person. So the virtual ones, we will project it onto a screen in the College and Career Center for you guys to watch. And you guys will be able to ask a representative from each of the schools any type of questions that you have if you're interested in that school at all. And then we have a lot more in October, and keep checking back to that calendar page because there will be more updates. And also check Google Classroom, the counseling page for Google Classroom regularly, as we will post new visits that are scheduled on there as well. And if you guys have any questions about the visits or anything like that, you guys can come by the College and Career Center and ask away.
Side note, I think it's super helpful to attend these events, right? Me and Miss Dark have answers for y'all's questions. However, it's super valuable to get the answer from the source, from folks that are actually specialized in their particular school. So I highly recommend, if y'all have the time, to go ahead and sign up for these. All right, so the second announcement is for my EAOP seniors. Just know that our first cohort meeting of the school year is tomorrow. So it is going to be Thursday, September 23rd during third block. Passes will be sent out. I'll also communicate it via Remind, so please keep an eye out for that. All right, I promise this is the last announcement, but I just wanted to put on y'all's radar the Richmond Promise Scholarship. Essentially, if you're a Richmond resident, you may be eligible for this scholarship. It's a great opportunity. It's $1,500 for y'all to use towards your college education. It's renewable as well. It's not competitive either. The scholarship application hasn't opened yet, but if you are interested in it, I highly recommend checking in with me, and then maybe we can try to get you in for an info session. But yes, I say this just because I know there's going to also be early grads out there, and you definitely don't want to miss out on the chance for free money.
So again, guys, anytime you guys have any questions or you need help with anything, you need help making your list, please come check in with us. We're happy to help you guys in the College and Career Center. And then also on the next page, we have our contact info for you guys to see.
Yes, so we are available via appointment. If those slots on our calendar don't work with your schedule for your free blocks, your TA periods, shoot us an email. We'd be happy to meet with you. You're also welcome to come in during lunch. However, lunch is on a first come, first serve basis. So you kind of do risk other students being there. If you want a more of a one-on-one setting, then we recommend booking on our appointment portal. But other than that, we hope you all have a great day, and we hope to see you soon. Bye.
Hi, thank you.